I've heard all kinds of stories about people taking alcohol for different reasons. And I've heard people who, when they take alcohol, they curse out people. I've heard people when they take alcohol and they get a little tipsy and drunk, they start weeping about their past situations and people that have died in their families and all kinds of funny reactions when people take alcohol, disorderly conduct, weeping, and just everything in between. Hi, my name is Rafa. Welcome to the School of Life. It's a program where I teach life lessons in a way that is easy to understand. On today's edition, we talk about drug abuse, and I'm talking about every kind of drug, whether alcohol or marijuana, and just any kind of drug abuse. We're going to be finding out why people get into drug abusive situations and what is the solution to help them come out. That's like the major issue today. So some people get into drugs and they consume things like Tramol to boost their immune system and their energy levels. I've heard stories of people taking drugs to be able to carry out agriculture and to till the soil and to just do things. They work like machines and all of that. Some people take drugs to make them courageous and things like that. Some people even turn to substance abuse and drug as a result, alcohol and everything, as a result of trauma, and they want to subside the pain. They want to forget their sorrows and things like that. But I feel that if you are in a situation where you want to carry out agriculture, it should be planned and programmed, and you should maybe use the help of other people, or you should use the help of, say, a machine, or I don't know. You should use the help of as many things as possible so that it eases your work, and you should look for other ways to do things that are a little more easier instead of using drugs and drugging yourself, because sometimes people collapse in farms and people, you don't really know what happened to them, but they drug themselves in order to have energy, and sometimes it doesn't always turn out right, and they're like, somebody died in their farm suddenly and things like that. So we need to be very, very careful. The next reason why people use drugs is that they want to kill pains and trauma and all of that. When you take alcohol and you take drugs and things like that, it doesn't make the pain disappear. It takes you to this state where you forget about it for a little while, but when you come to and when you come back to yourself, you still have the problem staring you in the face. So I think that if you have trauma in your life, the solution is not to get into alcoholism and to just get into drugs and abuse drugs and all of that. I think the solution is for you to sit down and try to find out, why do I have trauma? Is it that I was abandoned? What is the problem? How can I fix this? Okay. Study about trauma. Find out about how children that have been abandoned. Find out about people that have had betrayals in their lives and how did they work it out. The kind of betrayal that you've had. I don't know the kind of traumatic situation that you've been through. Maybe you lost a loved one traumatically in a way that scarred your life. Find out. Go to YouTube, go online and find out people who have lost loved ones in a traumatic way. How did they deal with that hurt and all of that? So look for tangible solutions that can be long-lasting instead of trying to console yourself with something that can appease the situation just for a little while, and then the turmoil restarts again once the drugs recede and they're no more in your system. So it's important that we address situations head on instead of using an escapee method and just drugging ourselves thinking that it's going to be okay. And the next reason why people get into, so if you've noticed what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to give you the reasons and tell you how to fix it at once, because I don't want to waste our time. Time is of the essence, So the next reason why people get into drugs and all of that is because they want to fit in. Children have all kinds of peer pressure. When a child is young, a child feels that their mother is the superhero and their father is the best thing that ever happened to Cameroon. Okay, my daddy, my father, my mother is the best cook. My mother is the best. Until you eat other people's mother's food and then you discover that your mother really cannot cook. Ew. your mother really cannot cook kati and things like that. So it's important that we children, I was saying that children, when they're at a young age, they love their parents are their idols, but when they get to these teenage ages, they want now to create bonds and friendships that are out of family circles. And so you as a parent, you might tell them, I love you, I love you, I love you. You want to hug them like you hugged them before. They don't want your hug. They want now to associate with their friends that wear miniskirts in school. They want to associate with their friends, their boyfriends in school, their gang of friends and their clique of friends that chat girls and watch pornography during break. They want to associate with this group because they want to find an identity outside of their home. They want to feel that society accepts them and validates them. At this stage, children start acting up and start acting crazy. That when they get into drugs, that when they start acting crazy, that when they start doing stuff that you would never imagine that your child can do. It becomes a responsibility now as parents to educate them and let them know what is right and what is wrong, and let them understand that you don't need to want to fit in so bad to the extent that you go against even your own core moral values and your upbringing and your home training and your education from home. We need to train our children because the world is so corrupt. The world is so corrupt. Let me tell you how corrupt the world is. Some children came into my store to repair their school uniforms, and these children were about 13, 15 years old, and they were talking about boyfriends and talking about girlfriends and talking about, I stood up and I said, you should have some respect for me. I might not be as old as your parents, but you don't talk trash in front of me. And I scolded and I shouted and I fixed their uniform and I did not give them the uniforms. I sat them down for like 30 minutes teaching them about sexually transmissible infections. That's Rafa for you. That's me. Because I'm not sure that their parents know about these things, or even if their parents know, they might not have time to tell them. I sat them down. I'm like, get pens and papers, everybody, while writing about STDs now. While I'm teaching them bacterial infections, I'm teaching them viral infections, I'm teaching them. Because I don't feel that my job is just to sew clothes and, okay, give me my money and go with your bad conduct. I feel that my job is to come in contact with different kinds of people and use every moment as an opportunity to shape a child's life, and use every moment as an opportunity to leave an impact positively. That's my job on earth. I'm not here just to make money. I'm not here just to, live my life. It's important. So peer pressure is a reason why people get into alcoholism and into drugs, and we want to fit in, because you know how it is. A child can crucify you if you don't buy a particular shoe for them. It's not because they really like the shoe. They don't even like the shoe just because friends are wearing it and they feel like to be among this clique of friends, you two need to do this thing. You need to take drugs and things like that. So it's important that we educate children about core moral values, and that we help them understand that you don't need to change who you are. I have been lucky because I had a mom who was hands-on, and she would educate us so much. I was not the child in school that would change clothes. You know how they say, oh, now we slim our trousers. Oh, everybody's slimming their trousers. And now we make our trousers to become sauté. They're just short. They're like, don't touch my shoe. Everybody's doing it. Students are crazy. I had never been like that. I wear big clothes. I wear the biggest clothes. My trousers are always big. The way a tailor sews it, it gives me, I wear it. I don't go and slim it again. I had never been the person that follows trends and fashion. I've always been very consistent to who I am. I love airy clothes. I love easy to wear clothes and things like that. So, I don't know, peer pressure has never been something that affected me. Probably because my mother gave us very strong core morals. She trained us with morality, and you don't need to be scared. Because half of the times, not even half of the times, all of the times, all of these friends that you're struggling to keep up with, if you fall sick, they will not be there for you. Some of them will not even visit you with fruits or vegetables or anything to care for you. It's your parents that will care for you. So why don't you listen to the parents that are even paying your school fees and paying for your clothes and putting food in your stomach and putting warm clothes on your body? So we need to be very, very careful the things that we prioritize. Now you're prioritizing your friends and you think that your mother is evil. Your mother is old school. Talk about old school. I have people who say that I'm so morally upright, I'm so rigid, I'm old school. I'm not old school. Life is life. Principles don't change. Okay? Don't be thinking that you scatter your life and then you expect good results. It don't work like that. Principles don't change. And your parents, you're looking at them as old school now because they've been through all of these stages and they've seen before you and they know the way. It's like an African adage that says what an old person can see sitting down, a young person will never see, even if they climb the highest Iroko tree. You need to be careful and you need to show some respect for people that have lived longer than you because they know the way. They've been there, done that, and moved on. And are trying to prevent you from getting into that place and ending up with damage. I've met people who dropped out of school. They felt at that time that they were doing themselves good. I'm not going to school. I want to do business. I want to live my life. I want to smoke Indian hemp. I want to scatter my life. I want to live anyhow I want. And now we meet them in real life situations and you tell them, oh, somebody sent you money on mobile money or Western Union or something. Go collect the money. They cannot write their names. They're illiterate. You gave up something that would have been useful for you. You gave up education, something that would have been useful to help you to do business, to help you to live life and just to interact with people. And the world is becoming developed and developed and developed. And now you're stuck with all of this illiteracy. Where is the banger that you used to smoke? Where is the drugs and the tramol and the whatever that you used to take? You ended up damaging your life. And nobody could advise you because you're the big guy now. You're the big guy. And I always tell young people, the fact that you've started sleeping around with girls and boys don't necessarily mean that you're big. Because the pants that you wear on your waist, your parent bought them for you. You don't know how to pay bills. You don't know how to feed and clothe yourself. Everything that you own, including the pants that you're wearing, your underwear is bought for you. You're a child. I'm a big guy because you have pubic hair. You're a child. Until you start taking responsibility for your life and paying your own bills and paying your own, you don't have the right to say nothing to me. I don't even know how parents cope with this kind of children. You don't say nothing to me. You're a child. We don't negotiate over stuff. You follow my rules. If you feel that you're too big, get a house of your own. Feed yourself, educate yourself, and clothe yourself. But until you get there, you're going to take instructions from me. I think parents need to be hands-on. Parents are too careless. And children are taking drugs. You don't even know. They report your child to you and they call you for disciplinary counsel and things like that. You're like, my child can never. You're protecting a child. You never know what children can do. I promise you, you never know. They sit in quiet corners. You think that they're just playing and joking around like we used to play with sand and things like that. That touching people's penises and finding out whose is big and whose is that. If you sit around children and you see the things that they do in private, I'm telling you the truth, you will not believe it's your child. Your darling child that speaks so nice and soft. Your child that you feel can never do wrong until they impregnate a girl. And you're like, what? Your child? We need to be careful. We need to be very, very careful. And so to conclude, I'd just like to say that drug abuse, whether it's a prescription drug, because there's sometimes that some drugs are prescribed and people use it out of proportion for different reasons and they just abuse it. Whatever kind of drug abuse, whether you're into alcoholism, you're into tramol, you're into whatever, I don't even know the names, but whatever thing that you're into, it will only lead you to a damaged life. People take drugs and they have sexual activities. There are students that have been caught having orgies, sex parties in other students' houses where they live, those students that live alone and things like that. It leads to accidents, people drinking and driving. It leads to damaged life for children. It leads to all kinds of damages. Fathers that are not capable to be parents because they abuse drugs. Mothers that, I'm telling you the truth, some women really abuse alcohol and they're now ridiculous. You know, so you wake up, your mother is drunk in the gut and things like that. People go through all kinds of ordeals. It's traumatizing for the children. I think that we need to organize our lives, and I'm not criticizing you. I'm not saying you're evil. I'm saying that you can do it better. If not for yourself, for the sake of children, for the sake of people around you, for the sake of society. Okay? And we need to educate children and we need to stop all of these damage. And I think that another reason why people get into drugs a lot is because of the availability. the availability of these drugs, custom is involved. Because how do these things get into the country? Can we talk? How do these things get into the country? How do these things, how do these things find their way into the country? How we need to be very, very careful what we allow into our country, because it's important. I think the custom unit in every country, I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm just saying that custom units have to be very, very careful and be more vigilant to what happens. Don't take things for granted and just say, oh, what are you transporting? We're transporting mesh. Okay, we're transporting mesh. Or we're transporting human hair. We're transporting merchandise. We need to be very, very careful. I don't know custom protocol and how they do their controls and checks, but we need to be very, very careful with what we allow into the country, because without we knowing, it's like chain reaction. You allow it come into the countries, a student buys it, a student stops a teacher, a student does this, violence increases. So we need to be extremely careful. We need to protect the interests of our country, and it's a collective job. I don't work with customs, but I can talk about it at least. I can scold children when they talk disrespectfully. I can say something to bring that morality. Every corner you find yourself. Are you a teacher? Are you a parent? In our days when I was growing up, a parent must not necessarily be a biological parent. Parents could scold children even on the road. These days, nobody talks to nobody's child. They're like, their parents raised them up badly. No, I don't want to put my mouth in it. We don't have love enough for our children. And I say our children, and you'll be saying, Rafa, do you even have a child? I don't have a child, but I'm worried about our children. I'm worried about the children of Cameroon. I'm worried about the children of Zimbabwe, worried about South African children, worried about children from Nigeria, worried about Chadian children. I'm worried about children from Ghana. I'm worried about children from across the world. Australian children, Mexican children, American children. I'm worried about Indian children, worried about Chinese children. I'm worried about children from the whole world. We need to do it as a collective effort to stop all of this drug use. Okay? For those who sell drugs, be careful. Because what goes around comes around. You're now selling drugs and somebody might stab you under the influence of the drug. So we need to be careful. We need to understand that everything that you do has a reaction and it comes back to you somehow. Everything that you do touches the lives of people, either negatively or positively. And you should not put your money and your interest first. And I'm trying to make fast cash and lead people into a place where they'll be addicted, they'll be stressed out, and it might take them forever to come out. They'll need like Rafa, they'll need people like me, like 100 of them, to just be preaching into their ears and telling them things for them to, mount up the courage to organize themselves. We need to be very, very careful, and we need to stop drug abuse. Not only for Cameroon, but for every nation of the world where drugs are being abused, lives are being damaged. We need to talk about it. We need to, in our individual spaces, find ways to stop it. We need to do our own quota. We need to contribute our own share. Because at the end of the day, it's something that no one person can do. Not the government that can do it. It's you and I. It's us all fighting against it collectively, raising our voice like one mighty army and saying no to drug abuse. So that's a lesson. I hope that you've learned something new, and that from now moving forward, you now take decisions that will push your life towards the right direction of positivity, direction of, productivity and usefulness. I really hope that you've learned something, and if you want to get in contact with me, my name is Rafa across all social media handles. You'd need my direct contact numbers on all of my social media platforms. On Instagram, I am Rafa_237. On YouTube, I'm Rafa, all in capital letters 237. All of that said, I wish you a beautiful life. I wish you beautiful time as you make positive decisions in moving your life towards the right direction. I'll see you some other time, but until next time, bye-bye.